days later, we still can't get enough of the Cubs. The victory parade on Friday was the 7th largest gathering in human history, and of course the largest to celebrate a sports championship. An estimated 5 million people were on hand to cheer the Cubs, and we're pleased to be joined by one of the players who made it happen, Kyle Schwarber. And Kyle, can you describe what life has been like since you became a world champion?
It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. Just being able to do things now that like taking the trophy to the Blackhawks game, and being able to show that off, and being at the parade where there were so many people, and it's just been a whirlwind. It's awesome. We thank the fans a lot for the support that they give us, and we're really proud that they can live this moment with us. Yeah,
for so many in Chicago, I think the overwhelming feeling was relief after years of being lovable losers. Now, you're just 23 years old in your second season, so relief may not be how you would describe things. What are the emotions now after you've had a few days to process it?
Still hasn't sunk in yet. I'm sure it'll sink in after, I head home and I'm just sitting down, maybe drinking, a beer or something like that. But right now, it's still a whirlwind. You go everywhere around the city, people are saying congratulations and everything, and you just want to soak it up as much as you can right now. But I'm sure once I get home, it's going to really set in, especially for me with the year I had. It was just a great time.
Yeah, let's talk about the year you had. It's so miraculous, improbable that you even played in the World Series. I want to go back to your first at-bat. You struck out. Was there a moment when you thought to yourself, I may be in over my head here?
Actually, not really. Maybe when I was down in Arizona, getting ready, getting prepared to come up, I just felt like everything, like I was trying to cram everything into like a 4 or 5 day window, and you just don't want to fail your teammates. I just wanted the opportunity to try. Nothing was guaranteed, but coming back to that first at bat, I actually felt great. I felt like I put in a good at bat. I just missed the ball under it. I was like, okay. I went back and watched the video. I'm like, okay, I'm right on it. Now I just need to make the adjustment, and then I'll be fine.
There were nerves, and even as Joe Maddon kept the team calm, you admitted, Anthony Rizzo admitted, that emotionally this was so difficult to overcome. What was the most nerve-wracking moment as the team's in a 1-3 hole, and it looks like the Indians were going to win it?
The reason why it was so emotional is that, this is what we dream of when we're a kid. Being in the World Series, playing, then you're down 3-1. You got the monkey on your back of 108 years. The message here is just take it day by day. That's the only thing that we can do. We got to worry about today. We just got to focus on today and play like we have nothing to lose.
Both you and Anthony Rizzo have spoken about the example set by David Ross. He will not be in the clubhouse next year because he's retired. What specifically will you do to keep the things he taught you guys alive moving forward?
It's going to be tough. This guy brings it every day, but he rubs off on other people too, and that's a great thing. He's rubbed off on me. He's rubbed off on Riz, KB, Lester, all these guys. He's rubbed off on all of them, and it just makes our clubhouse even better. So we can't thank him enough. He's the number one guy that in our locker room that helped us get to where we were. And we appreciate everything he did, and we're going to miss him.
Many are predicting this team is going to be good for years to come, even maybe be a dynasty. What's your message to those who are saying the Cubs will be favorites for years to come?
Baseball's a crazy game. Anything can happen, but we're gonna approach it just like we did last year or early this year, and whatever. We want to play our game. And if we keep playing our game, we're going to put ourselves in good situations to win baseball games and, get us into that postseason and then duke it out from there.
Even though you're a champion, it doesn't mean your rehab is going to stop, Kyle. Can you tell us what you have planned for the offseason?
I'll be continuing rehab, and ATI Physical Therapy has been a big role in this whole thing. They're big sponsors of the Cubs. They sponsored our training room and in our locker room. I got to work with them at their clinics while the team was on the road, and now we're going to have to keep this plan of attack still going forward into this off season, because I still have a little bit of ways to go. I still got to get my knee a little bit stronger, more stable, and be ready to run it around a little bit in the outfield and be able to catch here and there. So, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be a lot of fun.
How does the knee feel right now?
Feels like $1 million.
I bet so. And of course, you can go to the
great.
website, atipt.com. That's where to get more info. Kyle Schwarber, congratulations to you and your world champion Chicago Cubs. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, let's turn now to the NFL and some reaction to Week 9. Here's Ryan Aselta and Super Bowl champion Chris Canty. Hey, guys.
All right, time now for Canty's Corner, and we got a lot to get to. We're going to begin, Chris, with last night's showdown in the AFC West, where the Raiders, from start to finish, really controlled the game against the Broncos en route to a 30-20 win. Oakland now leads the division. Chris, after what you saw last night, how does this win kind of set the table for the Raiders to make a playoff run?
Well, it builds confidence for the young guys in that locker room. They know now that they can play at the highest level. They can compete against the best teams. When you knock off the reigning defending world champions, that's a confidence builder. You prove to yourself that you can get the job done. And what you saw last night was an Oakland Raiders offense that won a different style, a different way than we're accustomed to seeing. They used the ground game, 43 carries for over 200 yards, really dominated time of possession, 41-32 to 18-28. So it's just very impressive to see what they were able to do in terms of being able to keep the Denver Broncos offense off of the field and really allow their defense to play complementary football. You saw Khalil Mack start to come into his own, looking like the Khalil Mack that we're accustomed to seeing, a dominant edge rush pressure presence. Only 4 sacks going into last night's game, had 2 sacks last night. So really impressed. And then the formula for success with this Oakland Raiders team, they had 63 runs plus completions, which is outstanding. Coaches usually look for a number that's north of 50. They had 63. That's impressive. So really dominant offensive performance against a really good defense. And then their defense was able to step up and make the plays necessary. It's exciting young Oakland Raiders football team right now.
Raiders, no signs of slowing down. They have a bye this week. They don't play almost 2 weeks from now. Finally, they'll get back at it against the Texans. All right, the Packers bumped from the playoff picture. Chris, Aaron Rodgers and the Pack, they continue to dig these big holes. They couldn't get out of this one. Green Bay now 4-4. They're in 3rd place in the NFC North. Chris, this team looks broken at this point. How do you fix the Green Bay Packers?
Well, it's got to start with the ground game. You got to give Aaron Rodgers some kind of balance on offense, and I don't want to hear about Ty Montgomery, a wide receiver, trying to be the running game for the Green Bay Packers. And I'm tired of seeing Aaron Rodgers try to do it by himself. You've got to give him some help, Mike McCarthy. You guys in Green Bay have got to figure out a way to give some balance to Aaron Rodgers, because right now he's pressing. You're starting to see him throw off his back foot. You're starting to see him run outside and escape the pocket before he has to. You're starting to see him look downfield and try to force the ball into tight windows. And that's just not the Aaron Rodgers that we're accustomed to seeing. And quite frankly, that's not going to get the Green Bay Packers where they want to be in January. So they've got to figure out how to give that offense some balance. Their defense is playing well enough. Not great, but again, being able to stop the run, being able to be opportunistic against the pass, being able to force turnovers, which they did well against Andrew Luck yesterday. But you got to give number 12 some balance. As number 12 goes is how your franchise is going to go. And right now, the Packers organization is not taking care of Aaron Rodgers.
All right, topic number 3. Where's Goff? The Rams lose to the Panthers 13-10, and throughout the 4th quarter, the Coliseum faithful chanted Goff to come into the game to no avail. What do you think? How long does Jeff Fisher stay the course with Case Keenum at this point, Chris?
Well, do the Rams still have the same offensive line? Those guys are still playing poorly?
Yes.
Okay, well, keep Jared Goff on the bench.
This is a safety issue,
This is a safety issue. You don't want to ruin your franchise quarterback before his career even gets going. And I think you saw the same thing with David Carr, Derek's older brother with the Houston Texans. He was the first-round draft pick for that expansion, and it just never really got going because he set an NFL record in terms of the number of times he was sacked during his rookie season. So you don't want to knock the career out of Jared Goff before it gets started. So the offense right now is not playing well enough to be able to support a rookie quarterback, one that has high expectations being the number 1 draft pick. keep him on the bench right now. Let him hold the clipboard. Let him learn. Let him understand. Let him go through that process, get acclimated to the NFL game, understand what it's like to compete at this level through practice, and then maybe you see what you got next season.
All right, our last topic. What was he thinking? We're talking about Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, who was ejected after showing up a referee by throwing a towel at him after receiving a flag. Now, Chris, what's going through a player's mind to get him to that point to just lose his cool and show up a ref like that?
How could you miss that call?
Come on.
That's what he's thinking. I mean, when I saw his reaction, how could you miss that call? And I'm asking the same question because it was clearly a DPI on Prince Amukamara on that call. And I mean, if you look at it from Travis Kelce's perspective, you know, the Jacksonville Jaguars held him relatively in check up until that point in the game. Only 5 catches for 58 yards, no touchdowns, and it was 7-16 at that point. And Kansas City had the potential nail in the coffin, put that game away. And Travis Kelce gets interfered with on that play. He was frustrated. Now, certainly you can't have that type of reaction. You're going to cost your team 15 yards, and then you get ejected, you get disqualified. You're going to cost your team because you're a very important piece of that offense. So you can't do that in this situation, but the reaction was classic. When the ref threw the flag at him for unsportsmanlike conduct, he threw a flag right back at the ref saying that, how could you miss that call? You deserve to be flagged for missing that call. I love the reaction, but you can't do that, Travis Kelce. You know that. Andy Reid knows that. Your teammates know that. But the reaction was classic.
You did not miss anything in this segment today, Chris.
No. I try not to.
All right, along with it being Week 10 coming up this week in the NFL, this week is a huge one for the city of New York and UFC. Now, the sport will make its debut at Madison Square Garden this weekend with UFC 205. For more on the big fight card, here's Maggie with Fox Sports UFC Tonight host Kenny Florian.
Thank you, Ryan. And yes, I am here with Kenny 19 years after the MMA was banned in New York and just 7 months after it was legalized again. We get a bout at Madison Square Garden. Kenny, how do you think the location and the atmosphere is going to affect these fights?
Oh, man, I think a bunch. When you talk about Madison Square Garden, you're talking about such a rich history of combat sports. And for a lot of these fighters, this is what they've been waiting for their whole lives, to be able to fight on a card like this, which is so stacked, 3 title fights. And, of course, for Chris Weidman, probably some added pressure for him, considering, obviously, he's from New York, he's from this area, and actually he helped a lot in getting mixed martial arts legalized here in the state.
Yeah, a little home cooking, though. Maybe he gets the crowd behind him. You know, anytime Irish boxers fight in New York, they always get a large crowd. I assume McGregor is going to have quite a cheering section behind him as he takes on Alvarez. Now, he already has the featherweight title, so now he's fighting for the lightweight title. Is there any downside to him holding 2 belts potentially? Well,
right now, Dana White's saying that he won't be able to do that. When you have 2 belts like that, I mean, both people in both divisions are kind of complaining about it. How does this guy get the opportunity to kind of hold up both divisions? Because everyone wants to fight for the belt. And with Conor in 2 divisions, he's kind of holding the belts hostage. So I think he's going to have to make a decision if he does beat Eddie Alvarez as to what division he's going to stay in.
Yeah, clear that up for us. I mean, what are his options if he does win on Saturday night?
Well, if he wins, I imagine that he's probably going to stay at 155 pounds. I think there's bigger fights for him in that division. Not that a Jose Aldo rematch wouldn't be huge, but I think that the weight has become very difficult for him to make. I had to make that weight cut. I'm about the same size as Conor McGregor. It is absolutely brutal.
To get down to feather.
To get down to 45, exactly. It's a lot for a guy Conor McGregor's size. And if he's going to make the same amount of money or more money at 155 pounds and doesn't have to cut all that weight, why not stay at 155 pounds?
Right, so lifestyle-wise, it could be a lot easier. What's going to be his biggest challenge?
You know, I think it's Eddie Alvarez. It's his persistence, it's his determination, it's his heart, it's his chin. All those things make quite a difficult package for Conor McGregor. His wrestling as well. I think that for Conor, you know, he's faced a guy like Nate Diaz before who can take a lot of punishment. He's going to experience something probably very similar in Eddie Alvarez.
Yikes.
But Nate Diaz wasn't a wrestler, and Eddie Alvarez can't put people on their back, and that's where Conor kind of struggled in that fight against Chad Mendes not too long ago. So I think he's going to have to really stop that wrestling ability of Alvarez.
Alvarez says this is not going to last more than 9 minutes.
Wow.
You agree?
You know what? I don't know. It's possible. I think that it may not last for Eddie Alvarez either. It might go the other way for Conor McGregor. I think Eddie's best bet is actually to drag it into the later rounds, is try to grind out those first few rounds and then see what Conor McGregor has in the 20th and kind of almost close to the 25th minute to see if he gets him to break.
Who do you think is going to win this bout?
You know what? I love Eddie Alvarez. I think he is a guaranteed Hall of Famer. He has won every world championship in every other organization. Here he is in the UFC as champion. But I think Conor McGregor is just a little bit too clean with his striking. I think he's going to find a way to catch Eddie Alvarez and win the belt. But do not sleep on Eddie Alvarez.
All right, we're expecting good things out of UFC 205, but I got to get your thoughts also on Ronda Rousey. She says she's coming back to fight December 30th.
Yes.
30th, against Amanda Nunes. Here was Ronda on The Ellen Show on November 1st.
I'm wrapping it up. This is definitely one of my last fights. So.
One of your last fights?
Yeah, everyone better watch, because
yeah.
the show is going to be around forever.
All right, that's Rousey saying
Yes.
that she's not going to fight forever. The show won't be around forever. If she has indeed fought her last match, or if December 30th is her last fight, does she go down in history as one of the greatest fighters, as male or female?
I absolutely think so. You look at Ronda and what she's done, similar to Conor McGregor. I mean, wherever she goes, I mean, it's a huge event. She has been able to become a star outside of the octagon, something that very few people have done. I think there's a certain charisma and a magnetism to everything that Ronda does. And that's why she's kind of a star in Hollywood right now as well. And she has so many other options besides fighting. She has made a lot of money in this sport. So why not? I mean, if she goes out as champ, I wouldn't be surprised to see her maybe retire as champ. But certainly if she loses her next fight against Amanda Nunes, I would expect her to retire. But people forget how dominant Ronda Rousey was. And fans are so fickle in this sport where they see the last fight and that's all they see. Ronda isn't a good striker, blah, blah. Listen, everyone has their bad days, and I think Ronda's going to come back sharper than ever.
Christy Martin, the former boxing champ, says she doesn't believe that Ronda's going to even make it to December 30th and will not get in the octagon. Do you share that skepticism?
I do not. I think Ronda Rousey is a very proud fighter. I think she's someone who stands by her word. She has fought injured many times before, and I think she realizes she needs to do this for her career. At the very least, get back on the horse, try again, and try to regain that championship.
Kenny Florian, love watching you on UFC Tonight. It's Wednesdays on FS1. Really appreciate your perspective and enjoy UFC 205.
Thank you so much. I will.
Wayne Gretzky is not only an NHL Hall of Famer, he's the New York Times best-selling author of 99 Stories of the Game, a collection of Gretzky's 99 greatest hockey memories, both as a player and a fan. Recently, the great one was in New York City to sign copies of 99 Stories for fans, and our own Ryan Aselta sat down with Gretzky to discuss great moments, big regrets, and how one breakup saved the NHL.
Wayne, the book is titled 99 Stories of the Game. A couple of things that I noticed came through right away. Not only being a Hall of Fame player, you're clearly a fan of the game of hockey. Why was it so important for you to tell these stories about the game through your eyes?
I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity to get to play in the National Hockey League. So many great players, so many great buildings, so many storied franchises, and through all that, we have probably the greatest trophy in all of professional sports worldwide. So it was just fun for me to sit around and talk hockey for days and hours and endlessly tell different stories and find out new things that I really didn't know back in the 20s and 30s. But all in all, it was just a passion of mine to share with kids around the world.
Many of the games you spoke of in the book weren't games you actually played in.
Right.
Is there a game, a great game over the years in the history of the sport that you wish you had a chance to play in?
Oh yeah, only one. I wish I could have been on the 72 Team Canada team that played against the Soviet Union.
Start, and the face-off, and the game is underway with Petrov having cleared it into the Canadian zone.
The Summit Series, as it was called, was the first time that professional players played against amateur players. We thought as Canadians, coast to coast, that we were going to walk through this series. We're up 2-0 in game one. Everybody thought it was going to be a disaster and a blowout. We went on to lose 7-3. We went across the country to Toronto, Winnipeg, and Vancouver, and before we knew it, we were down 3-1 in a tie. And the team rallied around each other and came back and won the next 3 games to win the series. And I often tease that had we not won, I don't know if the history of our game would be talked about as quite as much. For one series, it was the most dominant I ever saw one player, and that was Phil Esposito, and how he carried not only the team, but a country on his back. And I wish I could have played in that series with him.
I'm disappointed about having to leave Edmonton. I truly admire all the fans and respect everyone over the years.
Chapter in the book called The Last Dynasty. You guys won 4 cups in 5 years, and then that core was broken up. Do you think back, if you guys had stayed together, how many you could have won?
Oh, you know, we'll never know. We do sit around thinking that I wish I could have won it 9 times or 10 times, I'll be honest about that. We had a great group of guys, and it was one goal and one ambition. That was to be unselfish and be a team and win a championship.
And it's with mixed emotions, a heavy heart for our community and our hockey club, but I guess with delight and sincere best wishes for Wayne Gretzky, that I announce, and I guess more important, confirm, that the Edmonton Oilers have agreed to trade Wayne Gretzky to Los Angeles.
The trade to the Kings at the time, many felt it was the league driven, that the league wanted you to get to that market to Los Angeles. What was the true driving force behind that deal?
Well, yeah, that really wasn't true at all. You know, it really came down to a business decision or business philosophy that I didn't, I saw one way and the owner saw the other way. I would have had 1 year left on my contract, and I would have been an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, and he wanted me to sign a long-term deal, and I basically was wanting to wait to see what the open market was. When that wasn't going to transpire, he sort of said, okay, give me a list of 4 teams and, you know, we'll work something out here. And I said, okay. So my first choice was Detroit because I grew up a Red Wing fan, Gordie Howe. My wife was on board. Wherever we were going to go, that was fine. And my dad who jumped in and said, you know, there's only one Gordie Howe. You should go to LA.
And Westwood on the San Diego Freeway northbound before Sunset Boulevard.
My very first exhibition game, there was 9,000 people at the game thinking, wow, we have a lot of work to do here.
Down to Gretzky, left side, he goes behind the net, he wraps around in front, he shoots, he scores!
The timing of it was just perfect in the sense that the guys who were there, Robitaille and McSorley and Kelly Rudy, Tony Granata, Rob Blake, they understood that it was more than just another hockey team in the NHL, that we had to do other things that teams didn't do. And so guys were always quick to help out youth hockey and go to high school hockey and all the things that go with that. And then on top of that, this kid from Calgary went to St. Louis, Brad Hall, and rejuvenated the game of hockey in St. Louis and single-handedly saved that franchise. And then Mark Messier went to the Rangers. And then we had this young kid who happened to be one of the greatest players ever come into Pittsburgh and save that franchise. And now you got all these guys together all across the country who are superstars and more importantly had charisma and were good people and understood where they fit in the game. So it was a wave that we all rode, and it wasn't just necessarily because of what I did.
How about for you personally? You had such success early though. Now, everyone remembers the Cups in Edmonton. You went on to play 11 more seasons outside of Edmonton. What was it like for you kind of chasing greatness the rest of your career?
Well, listen, when you come in the league at 18, as I did, our first sort of mindset is survival. Like, we want to be able to stay in the league. I was saying Austin Matthews got 4 goals his first game. I didn't score my first goal till my 4th or 5th game. And I'm thinking, oh my Lord, geez, maybe I'm going to get sent to the minors. Your attention quickly turns to, okay, this is a great situation here. We got to win. We got to figure out how to win. We used to hang pictures of Belleville with the cup and Howe and Bobby Clark. They'd be pictures out of magazines just hanging in the locker room, and everybody would see him every day. And for years and years, and that was what our goal was to lift the cup. And then ultimately, when you win it, you become selfish and say, I want to win it again next year. But that's what makes the cup so unique and so genuine, is you don't get to win it every year.
Great stuff there, and Wayne Gretzky inspired so many people. It's very interesting to see who his motivators were. Good stuff there. And that's going to do it for this Monday edition of SI Now. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern when we'll hear from Timberwolves teammates Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. You won't want to miss that. But until then, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow.